Saudações, sejam muito bem-vindas, muito bem-vindos, muito obrigado por este momento. Vamos passar aqui um momento especialíssimo, estamos em contacto com várias rádios, várias plataformas e vamos ter aqui um convidado especialíssimo que já está aqui comigo do outro lado do mundo, de Flórida, Tampa. A nossa conversa vai ser em inglês e ele vai nos explicar como é que este treinador com um recorde mundial do Guinness, inclusivamente o best-seller na Amazon, ele consegue ajudar qualquer pessoa a memorizar sem truques. Está preparado para isso? Vamos então dar aqui as boas-vindas e voltamos agora a falar um bocadinho em inglês. So thank you so much. I was sharing in Portuguese, so welcome. Thank you so much. My name is Margarida Forte. I'm I'm Portuguese, and you are so welcome in our lives, in our energy. So we are spreading the word with the radio show called Agora. We are going to be live on Facebook, YouTube. Also, during 1 week, our special guest is going to be live every day from several countries. The radio show is going to be broadcast from different countries like Luxembourg, Brazil, Portugal, France, and other countries all around. Only in the weekend, you're going to have the privilege, because all of them have websites, apps, and also web TV. So we are going to be around the world. And also in the biggest platform in Brazil, that has like 7 million viewers, guiadalma.com.br. And you can also listen to these amazing tips that this Guinness World Record certificate holder has for us. So this amazing man has 5 decades producing attention, getting results. You know what this means? You can use this on your private life or your company, on your startup. He's an exquisite speaker, trainer, Guinness World Record, and also author of the first bestseller on Amazon. And he also have a legion of fans and followers on YouTube, a Silver Play Button Award. Also, my guest today is the creator of the popular YouTube channel, Be Smarter Faster. And also, all of these details are on Facebook, on YouTube, Instagram, all platforms like Spotify and everything. But now we are going to pay attention to what he has to share with us. Can you imagine he's investing his time with us? So it's a real honor to have him here. So thank you so much to be here with us. I'm going just to welcome with Rádio Metropolitana do Porto, and we are going to start our live. Thank you so much to be with us today. And if it's not today, it's going to be one of these days with our guest, Matt DiMaio. Thank you.
Agora, sementes digitais, frequências boreais, momentos tão reais que a vida transforma. Agora,
Namaste, sir. Welcome. Bem-vindo. Thank you so much from Tampa to the world. Thank you, sir.
My great pleasure, Anna. I'm delighted to be here. And boy, let me tell you, I have got some major mental tricks and treats for your audience. They're going to be able to triple their memory power without doing anything fancy, no association or mnemonics. I've got some really great stuff planned for everybody that's joining us here today.
So first, thank you so much, because you've been sharing even your video links. We are going to share your channel also here for everyone to follow and to learn everything with you. You are amazing. Also, I really would like to thank Veronica Saban. She's in the Netherlands, and she was the one who connected us. So thank you so much. She has like a global talk show. She has a global network. She's connected with all the very important leaders of the world. And thank you so much. I feel so humble and grateful just to have you here. And thank you, Veronica. If you're not listening today, one of these days, I really want to thank you. So welcome. First, I would love to know, how was Matt DiMaio when he was a little boy? He was curious. How was he? Just a little boy. Then we will follow up the rest, sir. How was he?
You know, it's interesting you should talk about that, because on my last birthday, I turned 72 years old. And so to talk about when I was a little boy is an interesting thing, because it's a long time ago.
It was just 2 days ago, sir. 2 days ago.
I grew up in a little town called Nutley, New Jersey. And it's a little town in northern New Jersey, not too far from New York City. I'm the son of blue-collar parents. I'm of Italian heritage. My grandparents are all from Italy. My parents were both born in New Jersey. And so I'm second-generation American. And my mother tells me that when I was a baby, even from the time that she'd be pushing me around in that little basket in the supermarket shopping cart, that I was always very talkative. And I would see strangers walking up the aisles buying their things, and I would turn to them and go, hello, hello. And so, and
you have an amazing smile, and you are an amazing soul. So I believe you are. So we have already friends from all around the world. Please let us know where you are listened. And I would like to know, from that little boy, like a talkative and a smiley one, a very nice one, the one who understands the other and wants to connect with the other. How was your journey? Because today you are a global leader. You have people who follow you to have better results. You are a trainer. But before that, Matt, how was your journey? Can you share with us to inspire us all?
Sure. Well, first of all, I was always a small child. I was always one of the shortest people in my class, either the shortest or the second shortest boy in any of my classes. And so I was not particularly athletic. And so I discovered early on that I was a good talker. But it was in 7th grade that my English teacher really helped me have the career that I wound up developing. We had to do a show and tell. And during mine, I was demonstrating some stuff with ceramics. My mother used to make and paint and glaze ceramics. And my show and tell was on the subject of, how it was done. And at the end of my presentation, this 7th grade English teacher, who was the most critical, hard-nosed teacher of any I had had.
Wow.
She was very, very complimentary to me. And I was absolutely shocked, because I discovered at that young age that I could do something that even the biggest, strongest football players, the biggest, toughest kids in my class were scared to death to do. And that is speak comfortably in front of an audience. And that was a great aha moment for me. I was always a talker, and when I discovered that I could actually persuade people from being in the front of the room, it wound up giving me a career. And interestingly enough, even though I've had many deans of universities and many college professors sitting in my classes over the years, I am not a college graduate myself. I finished 2 years at Villanova University and decided I wanted to become a professional musician. Aside from speaking, God blessed me with the gift of music. I'm a keyboard player, a rock keyboard player. I've been playing in bands I was a sophomore in high school. I've been getting paid for playing music since I was in high school. And even in my 50s and 60s, I became a very popular keyboard player here in the Tampa Bay area. And I've been on the bill with many, many national and international recording acts. And so it's been a lifelong passion of mine. And so aside from speaking and training, when I wasn't doing that, I would, have my performer chops on performing music. And so I left college to become a musician. That didn't work out, and I wound up getting into sales and discovered that I was pretty good at it and I could support myself by talking.
But the amazing thing is, you can see from your smile, but you have humor. You've been connecting with millions of your students. You've been training people, but also you can bring all the techniques, all the philosophy, but then you bring laugh and learn your way to success. Yes, since 1980, ma'am, Matt has been researching and teaching and publishing, so you never stop.
It's interesting that you did talk about the humor, because I was never a naturally funny or humorous person. So I was giving a lecture one time at Montclair State University to the faculty there. And my friend, who's a professor, after my talk to the faculty, he grabbed me on the side and he said, "Listen, Matt, you are way too serious. You have got to lighten up, dude. You've got to be more entertaining." He said, he said something that like hit me in the head like a brick. He said, "People will pay more for entertainment than they will for education." And I was shocked that a college
Bingo.
professor would tell me that. And then he said, "Let me ask you, who gets paid more, Frank Sinatra or the dean of this university?" And I was like, okay. And so at that point, I actually went home and began to study comedians. And so I would, when I would ever see a comedian on television, I would watch their act with a notepad in my hand. And I had always heard about this idea called timing. Jack Benny was supposed to be an expert on timing. I didn't even know what that meant. And I heard that, comedians say things that are funny and comics say things that in a funny way. And so I was like, oh, I don't know. I don't even understand this. And so I began to study what makes somebody humorous in the front of the room without actually telling jokes. And I developed a new personality, and I wound up calling myself the EnterTrainer. And so,
bless you. But allow me, because I know when the lights pop up, you are a different one. But I can sense that you have like a natural timing. It's amazing. That's why it's your essence. It's my professional side. Of course, you develop, but you have it because adults be seeking you to support and to improve all the customer service all around the world. You are like me. You like higher sales numbers. You've been supporting and creating all the strategies. Also, you have, oh my God, you have been giving proof all around the world in all sectors, living up to the edge of practice, what you preach, practice what you preach. And also you are known for the ability to recall the names of everyone in the audience, even when they are hundreds. I even know that you have thousands of people. So over your career, you've been spoken on stage on hundreds of thousands of people, and you have performed in all the biggest events like North America, most prestigious venues like Incredible Season Palace, the Paris Las Vegas, Every Fisher Hall, Lincoln Center, even in the Toronto Convention Center, New York Waldorf Astoria, Nassau Coliseum, and even in the Superdome. And of course, I believe I want to bring you to Europe because we need you here. Of course, you can do it online and live like you do on your amazing YouTube channel. But how can you do it? Because you study, you learn, you train, but you have tricks. You have like a technique, isn't it? And this is millions, and you're going to share with us, Matt. Thank you.
I've never stopped being a student. And I think that that's one of the things that's helped keep me mentally young, is that I have this quest for learning and what the process is. And I think perhaps because I was a very lazy student, I was always looking for shortcuts. And so my mind naturally went to a place where I said, well, I know that these other students in school are not any smarter than me. Not to brag, but God blessed me with some good brains. And I never, as a student in school, I was lazy because I never had to work. Things came natural to me. But the problem was it gave me very bad habits. And so I did not have much of a work ethic. And so I was able to cruise through all of my schooling all the way up to university, getting good grades, but I could have been a topper. I could have been a straight A student and dean's list, but I didn't want to work that hard. I didn't have to. I could cruise by, do the minimum amount of work, and still get good enough grades that my parents wouldn't yell at me and my teachers thought I was smart. Well, that sounds funny and it sounds humorous, but it wasn't until later in life that I realized that, I had actually cut myself short, that I was not living up to my full potential. And in a moment, I'll tell you how I really got started teaching all of these accelerated learning techniques. A lot of people think of me just as a memory expert. And really, memory is the last part of the process. I'm really a learning strategist. I teach people strategies, techniques, mental tricks, and tips on how to be smarter faster. You see, the students that are getting the best grades, or the people that are making the most money and the people that are doing the best in life, are not necessarily working any harder or any smarter than you. Mm-hmm. The real truth is that they know some strategies that you don't. And so I began to research those strategies and then figure out how to teach them. And I'll get into that with you in a minute.
Amazing. You see how special? So please, if you just join us now and you lost a little bit of our introduction, don't worry. We're going to have Matt every day live for 7 days a week next week. And it's going to be in Radio Agora and also in a lot of radios and platforms. And you can also share it every day. Just follow us. We are going to share even on Instagram where you can find this piece of art. Matt, I'm just like this. I'm enchanted. Thank you so much. It's like a haha moment. Of course, please give us more if you don't mind. Now I'm
Well, as you pointed out, I can go into an audience of almost any size and I will meet as many people as I can before I'm introduced on stage. In fact, this past March, here I am, 72 years old, and this past March 15th, a company that I'm with called The Great Discovery had its grand opening, and I was one of the speakers at the launch of the company. And we had, 175, 200 people in the room. And when it was my turn to speak, I did a very short presentation called How to Do the Impossible, where I put a series of digits on the screen that's 30 digits long. This is a number that just goes on and on and on, 3 lines of 10 digits. And then I challenged the audience to memorize this ridiculously long string of numbers. And of course, everybody looks at me and says, and they laugh and they go, I don't care what the guy with the funny mustache tells me, I can't do that. And then I teach a technique that in less than 3 minutes, everybody is able to recite the numbers forwards and backwards, and then from the middle to the 2 ends. So this is something I've been doing since 1980. So it's one of my signature demonstrations to prove that you've got the mental ability. What you're lacking is the strategy. But after I finished that 10-minute presentation, I got off the stage and I went into the audience and I recalled the names of everybody in the room. And
Matt,
I
just
hear,
sorry to disturb you. This is the video that you share on my Facebook. The one, it means recalling everyone's name.
well, the one I shared with you on Facebook, that video was actually taken a few years ago at a different
Okay.
event. But I've got
Okay.
on my YouTube channel, I actually have
You have a
multiple
lot of
videos
them. Yes.
of me going into different audiences and recalling the names of everybody in the audience. I think my
Okay.
favorite one is when I was a guest speaker for the Indo-US Chamber of Commerce. This is a group here in the Tampa Bay area. It's all the local businessmen that are of Indian heritage. And so I went around the room and I had met all of these people during the cocktail hour and went around the room and called them by name. And there was nobody named Anna, Matt, Bill, Mary, Fred. They were all people with Indian names of 3 and 4 syllables. And
yes.
so recalling all those names was, they were pretty well surprised. But the biggest crowd, I've got a video on my channel where I literally remembering, I don't know, just a massive audience. But I see that you've got it up on the screen right now, where you see that there's a lot of videos that are up there.
A lot of information. It's amazing. I've been like in love.
Thank you. But it's a demonstration that has really served me well. And here's the reason that I do it. You see, first of all, I love to show off. And let's, that's the truth. It's a show, and I love to put on a show. However, when I'm about to teach people some of these things, the fact that I just went around the room and called everybody by name becomes indisputable proof that I know what I'm talking about, because I did something that they can't do. And they look at me like it's a Martian that landed in their midst. But I wasn't born with this ability. It's like learning how to ride a bicycle. Nobody is born knowing how to ride a bike. It's a series of steps. It's a technique that you learn it a little bit at a time, and then eventually, with enough practice, you can get good at it. So anybody can learn how to ride a bicycle. What I did is I took that ability and I really maximized it. So it's like I'm in the Tour de France, so I'm competing with it. But would it be okay if I told you how I got started teaching all this stuff?
Oh my God, I was going to ask you that. Of course, this is your time. Please, we are here just to learn everything.
So here's what happened. I'm going to take you back to the year 1979. And I had just taken a job at a brand new chain of computer programming schools in the state of New Jersey. Now, in 1979, nobody had computers in their homes. There was no such thing as a personal computer, except if you were some kind of a geek or a nerd. In fact, it would not be for another 2 years, August of 1981, when IBM would release their first version of a PC, a personal computer, to the public. So this is 2 years before that. Now, I had students that were attending a school where they were going to learn computer programming, and they were going to do this in business. Most of the students at my schools were young adults that were looking to get retrained for a new career. The economy was in bad shape, and schools do well when the economy is not so good. The problem was that computer programming was a pretty mentally challenging thing to study. And so my schools had a high dropout rate. Now, my income was directly affected by the dropout rate because I got paid based on tuitions that were collected. So if we didn't collect the full tuition, I didn't get my full pay. And so I was financially motivated to reduce the dropout rate so I could get paid more.
Of course.
Now, the problem was I could not use my own experience as a student because, as I said earlier, I was lazy. I'm a college dropout. And so what I did was I began to research what makes somebody a good student. And I went to the bookstore and I got everything I could find on the subject of studying and reading. And then I went to the library. And then I bought every audio cassette tape program. And I attended a few live lectures. And I was shocked at the amount of information that was out there that nobody ever told me about. And so I distilled some of these ideas down into a 90-minute talk that I called What School Never Taught You About Learning. And in it, I talked about how do you focus? How do you pay attention? Look, your teacher and your parents would wag their finger at you and say things like, listen to me when I talk to you. Stop daydreaming. Pay attention. Focus. And never once did I ever take a class in how to do that. Maybe none of your viewers ever took a class in how to do that. School tells you what to do. They don't show you how to do it. Yes. They would say, take good notes, study for the test, prepare for the exam, and study the textbook. And they never once gave me a class on how to do any of that stuff. And what I discovered is that there were actually some really cool strategies that would help you focus, that would help you stop your mind from wandering, that would help you remember stuff, that would help you read a textbook differently than the way you read a storybook or a novel. So I began to teach this 90-minute class, and a couple of amazing things happened. Number one, I reduced the dropout rate at my schools because my students were able to figure out how to learn this stuff. But even more importantly, I dramatically increased the school's job placement rate because when these young people went on their interview, they actually knew what they were talking about, so they got hired. But that's when the magic happened. You see, I began to get calls at the school from the companies that hired my graduates. They wanted to know, what were we doing at our school that made our students perform so much better on the job than students from competing schools or students that they had hired from us in the past? And my students came up with this corny nickname for me. They called me Matt. They called me Matt the Memory Man. And I would do, mental feats of memory power, where I would take attendance.
Superhero.
Yeah, let me tell you, having a really good memory and being able to remember lots of people's names is a real life superpower. So when I would take attendance, I would take it on the clipboard. I would tell the students, and this was the first day of class, I would take attendance to the 30 or 40 students that were sitting in the class. And then I would say, I want you to know that you can always come to my office if you have any problems. I will take care of you. I know who each of you are. And if you doubt me, let me prove it. And I would take the clipboard, place it upside down on the desk, and go around the room and call them all by name. And you could hear a pin drop in the room because now I proved to them, hey, this guy really does know who I am. After taking attendance once, he knows my name. I've used that demonstration in countless ways that have given me a career. Yes, I do it at seminars, but I'll tell you another quick story. I attended a seminar as a student for a group of consultants. I was the last one to arrive in the room. Everybody in the room was retired executives from the big pharmaceutical or energy companies. So there were executives from Ford Motor Company, from Hoffman LaRoche Pharmaceuticals, from Exxon, from Bell Labs. These are all companies headquartered in New Jersey. And there's me in the back. I'm in my early 30s. And when it was my turn to get up and introduce myself, I said, my name is Matt DiMaio, and I teach people how to learn things fast. Well, all these gray-haired consultants were snickering at me under their breath. Oh, who's this kid think he is? That's ridiculous. And I said, well, it's easier for me to show you than to explain it. And I went around the room and called everybody by name, in spite of the fact that I had not met any of them. I knew all their names. It looked like it was mind reading. It looked impossible. Here's how I did it.
Please show us.
The instructor handed out a clipboard, and he had the clipboard go down one row and up the other, and everybody had to sign in. And so I simply watched where the clipboard went. And so I was able to figure out by looking at the clipboard where everybody was sitting, and I knew their names. Now, the instructor also had people stand up and introduce themselves, and I paid really close attention when they did that. And so when he got to me, I was the last one. I was sitting all the way in the last row in the corner. So I had already heard everybody introduce themselves, and I had the clipboard where I had already learned, given myself the names in advance. So when it was my turn, I had already figured out who everybody was. And let me tell you, nobody was laughing at me anymore. When I was able to call everybody in the room by name, in spite of not having met any of them, I blew their minds. So nobody was laughing at me anymore. In fact, at the end of the seminar, the instructor called me up to the front of the room, and he said, the owner of my company would like to meet a guy like you. Eventually, I went to New Hampshire, met the owner, and he put me out on the road conducting those seminars for other people. I was the top seminar guy in the company. I was the newest guy. I became the top guy in the company because I did the same thing with every class. These old guys would come into the seminar room, look at me and go, oh my God, who's this kid and what's he going to teach me? When it was my turn to introduce myself, I said, I can do something that you guys can't. I teach people how to learn things fast. Let me prove it to you. And then after they had introduced themselves, I went around the room, called everybody by name, and they were like puppies eating out of my hand for the rest of the seminar. It is a real life superpower. And in this presentation, what we're going to talk about here today is how you can be better, not just at remembering people's names, but I'm going to teach you why you're not good at remembering stuff now. But I just want to finish the end of my story. So
of course,
I had all these companies calling me up and wondering what we were doing. And I began to get invited to do after dinner speaking engagements. The very first one I ever did was for the Data Processing Managers Association, the DPMA. The next group was the ASM, the Association of Systems Managers. And so this was a group, this was rooms full of all of the data processing managers for Fortune 500 and 100 companies in the state of New Jersey, which is a very industrial state. And so I had all of the heads of the data processing departments in my audience. And so I would do demonstrations. I would hand out 20 copies of the same issue of Time or Newsweek magazine. Back in those days, it was a 200-page magazine, 170-page magazine. These days, it's a pamphlet. And I would say, all right, well, call off any page number. I'll tell you what article is on that page. Or call off any article and I'll tell you what page it's on. We would take out a deck of playing cards. Somebody would shuffle it and call off 20 cards to me, and I'd recite it back in order or even out of order. Then I would teach them a few tricks on how to improve their memories, like what I'm going to teach some of your folks here to do today. And then at the end, I would end every seminar the same way. I would say, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for making me feel so very welcome. As I call off your name, please stand up and be recognized. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Pete. Thank you, go around the room. I always got a standing ovation at the end. And then I would sell tickets to my weekend memory training seminar. And I made my living doing that for a long time.
It's, of course, they say, well, this is like a gym, like a workout. You are doing and you are proving each time. Even Matt, there's a question here before you introduce the technique. One of the ladies was speaking with me before. She said, well, after COVID, I even lose my memory. I said, please come, because Matt will explain the technique. And of course, I'm sure that you are going to regain, because I already saw a lot of videos about your technique. So even someone just said, well, I lost my memory. Now I'm still young, but I cannot cope. I'm super tired. I'm overwhelmed. This is okay, isn't it, Matt?
You know, I'm glad that you're bringing this up, and because this is a very painful subject for so many people. People are afraid of losing their memory, or they think I'm getting old, or I'm not functioning as well as I did before. And I want to tell you that I want to give you hope. And so, Anna, with your permission, I would now like to talk. I would now like to actually teach the audience some things that are guaranteed to triple your memory power without any fancy techniques. And they work instantly, even without practicing. Now, they work better when you do practice, but they work instantly. And so everybody wants to talk about memory. I want to talk about the 3 causes of forgettery. What is it that causes you to forget stuff in the first place? If you understand what's causing your bad memory, now you can make a strategy to fix it. But if you don't even know what the problem is, you have no idea where to begin. So let's talk about the 3 causes of forgettery. And the very first one is that you don't get it. You know what you don't get? You're not getting the information. All right, so let's talk about people's names, because I was talking about that a lot. Yeah. So a lot of times you're meeting somebody for the first time. Maybe you're at a cocktail party. Maybe it's a backyard barbecue. And somebody will bring their friend over and say, hey, I'd like to introduce my friend to you, Mr. Blah, blah, blah. And you go, yeah, hi, pal. Nice to see you. How you doing? You didn't get the name.
Of course.
If you don't get it, you can't keep it. If you don't get it, you forget it. To forget is to not get. Just like to forego means to not go. Oh, I'm going to forgo that idea. I'm not going there. To forget is to not get. So the very first step, if you want to remember something, is you have to pay attention. You have to go, okay, that name is coming. Stop being distracted. Time to focus. I want to take you back to something my belated little Italian grandmother taught me. I mentioned that I'm of Italian heritage. My mother's mother was a philosopher, and it made my mother very philosophical. And that is where I get a lot of my philosophy from today, is my mother's mother. Now, she died when I was very, very little. I never really got to know her. So, but I got to know her through my mother. And my belated little Italian grandmother taught me the secret to being able to learn everything and anything faster and better and remember it. And she did it in just 2 words. Now, anytime you can teach something as complicated as how to learn everything and anything faster and better and remember it and do it in just 2 words, Anna, can I have your agreement? Those are 2 words that are pretty important.
Yes.
Okay, so here's Grandma's 2-word mantra on how to learn everything and anything faster and better. Ready?
Ready.
Pay attention. Pay attention.
Grazie mille, Mama.
You gotta pay attention. Have you ever met somebody who was so broke they couldn't even pay attention? So, step 1, The first cause of forgettery is that you don't get it. So you got to make sure you pay attention so you
You
get
need
it.
to be here and now and pay
Correct.
attention with all
Be
your senses
here
open.
now.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. So now, okay, that's cause number one. All right. Number two is you don't care. Now you go, well, but Matt, I care. Yeah, well, there's caring, and then there's caring enough to do something about it. So I know people that can recall the names and all the important statistics of every player on their favorite sports team, and yet can't remember their wedding anniversary, can't remember their wife's birthday.
Yes, it's true.
It's not that you don't have the ability, you just don't have the interest.
That's true.
Not like you don't have the capability to do it. You just go, if I do it, fine. If I don't, so what? You meet somebody at a party and you go, if I remember their name, fine. But if I don't, so what? By the way, I see one of my YouTube viewers, one of my frequent YouTube viewers popping up, Adnan. Hello, Adnan. I see you. I saw you there right from the beginning.
The beginning was just like, he's
I
here.
know. There you go. Yeah, I see him giving me the fourth name. But I just like Anna. And so you've got to care. Now, you've got to care enough to actually do something about it. You see, what I teach is I teach a kind of mental filing system. Now, this is something that catches people by surprise. Nobody told you that you can file stuff away in your head just like you had a filing cabinet. You see, if you put stuff away in an orderly fashion, you can find it when you need it. But what people do when they're learning stuff is they use the pile versus the file. They take all the new information and they dump it into a big pile on the floor of their mind. That's why you can only find stuff that's on the top of the pile. The other stuff is there, but you have to go digging around to find it. And it's not like you lost it. You just can't find it when you need it. And so what I do is I teach a system that takes a little bit of effort, but you've got to care enough to actually do something about it. Is putting your files away in a filing cabinet, is that a little bit more work than throwing the files on the floor? Yeah, it's a little bit more work. But what ultimately is more work? Ultimately, it's a lot less work to put the stuff in the filing cabinet so you can get it when you need it. Otherwise, you're making yourself crazy to try and find it later. Now, this is critically important no matter whether you're a student in school, whether you're a business person, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a parent, whether you're just a single person looking to have a successful love life. If you take the information and put it away in an orderly fashion, it'll be there when you need it. And I will tell you this, it makes you look superhuman. Now, we talked about the first two of the three causes of forgettery.
Thank you.
So we talked about you don't get it, you don't care. But number three is the big one.
Okay.
Number three makes the first two look like small potatoes. And number three is you don't believe. You know what you don't believe?
Okay.
You don't believe you have a super powerful memory right now. You know how I know that? I listen to your thought. Now, not you, Anna, because you and I got to know each other. But your viewers, I can read their thoughts from here. They're saying, oh, I must be getting old. Oh, I must be getting the Alzheimer's. Don't say that to yourself. My mother passed away from the Alzheimer's. Don't say stuff like that. Oh, I can always remember a face. I can never remember a name.
Yes.
I'm good with, oh, I'm terrible at remembering names. Oh, I have a terrible memory. Guess what? When you say stuff like that, that is not the result of a bad memory, my friends. That is the cause.
It's programming.
Remember,
yeah. It's programming.
Right. Because if you say to yourself, I am terrible at remembering names and facts and studying, I'm bad at this stuff, then why would you care? Why would you take the extra effort to get it? You're beating yourself before you ever get started. So here's what you're going to do. You can't lie to yourself and go, oh, I have a wonderful memory now, I'm going to remember everything. Because you're not going to believe that either. So what do you say? When you meet somebody at that cocktail party or at that barbecue, you say, you know what? I'm going to remember you. Or even better, here's the question to ask yourself. Get this question down, folks. If you're taking notes, write this one down. This is a writer downer. Ask, how am I going to remember that name? How am I going to do it? You see, you already remember a lot of people's names, but you don't know how. So let me give you a couple of tips. Let me just teach you a little bit of stuff, okay?
Thank you, Matt. You are amazing.
So ultimately, all memory techniques come down to two things: making an image and holding that image in your head. What do we call images you put in your head? Imagination. So we're going to use your imagination. The other thing that God put into you is connection. People call it association. I don't like that word. If association was really a good word, you'd use it more. A much better word to use is connection. It's like Legos, or when I was a little boy, Tinker Toys. You connect this thing to that thing. Those of you that have little children at home that are learning to talk, those of you that have nieces or nephews or grandkids or little children, or listen to them when they're learning something. They'll say, Grandma, Daddy, Auntie, you mean it's like? You mean it's like this is somehow like that. They're looking to connect them together. This is like that. They're looking for that connection. So all memory comes down to making images and connecting them to the new stuff you want to learn. So how do you make an image out of people's names? Let's start with that. So now there's 4 different ways to do it. The name already means something. You already know somebody with the name. You can rhyme it, or the name sounds like something else. Now, I'm not going to go into all of these details. By the way, I wrote a book on the subject called, of all things, How to Remember People's Names.
Yeah.
What do you suppose this is about? So you can find stuff like this with me on Amazon. You can look me up. This is out of all of the things I've ever written, this is how I built a reputation, because it's something I can do right in front of you that you can't argue with me whether it works or not. And so, and I cover this in a lot of detail, but how do you make a picture out of somebody's name? So let's use my name as an example, Matt. So sometimes the name already means something. What is a mat? Well, it's a welcome mat. You know, you scrape your feet off on, and let me tell you, Anna, I am always a welcome mat. It could be a wrestling mat. Well, in high school, I was a wrestling mat. Now, remember, I said I was little, but in wrestling, you get to wrestle, you get to compete against people your own size.
Of course.
And so in high school, I wrestled 98, 106, 115, and 123. Yes, I'm talking about I was a little dude. And so I was a wrestling mat. I've got a buddy of mine from Quebec who used to call me Matador. Now, I was single until I was single until I was 43 years old. And so my friend used to call me Matador. And I said, yes, Matt adores the girls and the girls adore Matt. And so
amazing.
Matt, or now, so a mat can mean something, can be something. Or You'll hear little kids rhyme it. You know, you've heard little children on the playground making fun of other kids' names. They don't really make fun of them names. They're having fun. You know, Fat Matt ate a rat, then he sat on a cat. You hear children do that. Nobody taught them to do that. So I want you to be aware that you're already remembering people's names. How do you do it? See, now it's easy for me to remember your name. My wife's name is Anna. So I went, oh yeah, Anna is like Anna. So I could imagine the two of you like, you know, hanging out together. And so we can do that with any name. So if I were to meet somebody named Marge, and now I know your middle name is Margarita. That was my favorite. That was my favorite aunt's name, Aunt Margie. Margarita in Italian is Margarita. Now you're in Portuguese, Margarida. She was Italian, Margarita. And so, but Aunt Margie. So if I meet somebody else named Marge, I might think of her, but I might think of Marge Simpson from The Simpsons. And maybe I can also think of Bart and Homer and Lisa and Maggie and Ned Flanders. And so maybe the people that reminds you of, they don't exist in the real world. Maybe they're from a movie or from a storybook or from a cartoon. But what you want to do is you want to ask yourself, how am I going to remember that person? Now, I want to tell you a quick story before we move on to another subject. So here in the Tampa Bay area, we have something called the Tampa Bay Business Owners. And one of the guys is a world-class photographer. And he's sat in some of my classes. He gets to attend a lot of these seminars because he's the photographer. Well, he got called out of state to do a really high-profile wedding. Now, he doesn't usually do weddings. He does corporate events. But this was a really well-paid gig. He came back from that wedding, and he came racing up to me, and he said, Matt, I got to tell you a story. I remembered the name of everybody in the wedding party based on what you told me. And I got the biggest tip. Not only did I get my full fee, I got the biggest tip in my entire life because I remembered everybody's names in the wedding party. I went, let me ask you how you did it. I'll bet you didn't have to use any fancy techniques. You just used the 3 causes of forgettery, right? You paid attention when they were introducing themselves. You cared, and you had the belief that, hey, I'm going to remember you. I'm going to find a way to remember you. And he went, yeah, well, that's all I did. And I remembered everybody. Let me tell you, when you do stuff like that for somebody, it changes their life. And that's why at this stage of my life, I do this stuff. You know, I didn't become a YouTuber until I was in my late 60s. My daughter laughs at me. My daughter was in high school at the time. And she goes, my old man is going to become a YouTuber. And now I've got a silver play button award. And she went, oh my God, he's a real YouTuber. I've got a couple of 100,000 subscribers. I got millions and millions of views. Just one of my videos alone has, I don't know, 10 million views.
10 million, one at least I saw. It has.
And that's called How to Absorb Textbooks Like a Sponge, where I teach how do you deal with a textbook differently than the way you read a novel. And so what I've been spending my life doing at this stage of my life, I'm really concerned about leaving a legacy. And so what I do is I take a look at what makes a student a good student. And this is not necessarily in high school or college, although that's the majority of my viewers. But I work with lots of professionals who have to take certification exams. You know, my wife passed the Series 7, which is an investment exam. That is one of the most difficult exams to pass in the world. That's up there with the LSAT and the MCAT, which is the law and medical entrance exams.
Yeah.
I have people, many people want to take the real estate exam, or they take the MCAT. I've got so many students on my YouTube channel that come from the medical profession. I have all of these engineers who have to take certain entrance exams or certain qualification exams. And then I have all of these people that have been in their profession for a long time that have to take these upgraded exams. And so I teach very specific strategies about how to take exams. And I don't get into the details about the difference between a medical exam and a law exam and a securities exam. That's irrelevant stuff. You'll learn that stuff when you study the particulars. I teach, see, when you take a test, let me back up a half a step. When you take a test, you're really being tested on two things. Number one, of course, is how well you know the material. But number two is how well you take tests. You see, the students who do the best are not necessarily the students who know the material the best. They're students who understand what the test is about. For years, I traveled around the United States teaching test-taking skills on how to pass the United States Post Office exam. I've never worked for the post office. I taught independent contractor versus taxable. So this was a taxpayer's certification exam. I taught how to pass the air traffic controllers exam. Back in the 80s here in the United States, the air traffic controllers went on strike. President Reagan fired them all, hired a bunch of military to fill in, and then we had to replace all the air traffic controllers who quit. And so there was this huge demand for air traffic controllers. You had to pass an exam. I never flew a plane. I don't know anything about it, but I traveled around the country teaching how to score well on the air traffic controllers exam. Now listen to this. If you didn't score at least a 90, we gave you your money back. I never had a single person get to ask for their money back. And so there are strategies that you can take. Now, I'm not going to get into all that stuff right now, but I've got them on my YouTube channel. Go look. And by the way, this stuff is available
and
for
all
free.
The contacts are here,
It's
Matt,
free.
all of them. So just follow Matt. You have the Facebook, also the Instagram, also the YouTube. Please connect with him. Be connected. You will remember focus.
Right.
And connected. He has
Go here, youtube.com, be smarter, faster.
yes, and
By the way,
faster.
I've got a place where they can get some free gifts at the end. But before we wrap up here, Anna, I know that you may have some other questions to ask me, but there is something I'd like to talk about. Because I know that some of you that are watching, some of you are already speakers, trainers, course creators, and I have recently made a great discovery. It's something called The Great Discovery. And this is how you and I got introduced to each other through Veronica Siban, was through The Great Discovery. If you folks go to thegreatdiscovery.com/maestro, that's me, Maestro Matt DiMaio, thegreatdiscovery.com/maestro, you're going to see the very best e-learning platform to help you create courses, sell more courses, get other people promoting your courses, and eliminate all of the barriers to a worldwide audience. We have a technology that instantly translates your language into any other language. So imagine me talking right now to you. Imagine that I was speaking in your native language, no matter where in the world you live. We've got technology on The Great Discovery that'll allow you to retain your personality, your sincerity, but make it appear as if you're speaking French or Hindi or German or Lithuanian or whatever, Mandarin Chinese or Japanese or Korean. So imagine where you would like to sell more courses. We will automatically translate you into those language. You tell us where and we'll help you do it. Now, the other thing is we also translate the finances. You see, the economies of different countries might prevent somebody from being able to afford a course. Well, if you want to market in that country, we help you eliminate money as a concern. And then you really want to spend your time focusing on creating courses. you really aren't interested in marketing it and promoting it. So we're building a worldwide promoter network of people who receive a little share of the profits in exchange for promoting your courses. So
Amazing.
if you want to know more about this, go to thegreatdiscovery.com/maestro. And so that's my little commercial about the Great Discovery.
No, it's amazing. We will try to do this with this video. You'll see. So please connect. Matt, you are amazing. You know that when Veronica connects us with a global network, so Agora and me are like huge partners of Veronica Saban in this global network. And it's amazing to have someone like you. Thank you so much. You know, we were talking and I was, okay, do you know, I was already a lawyer. I work in luxury. I work in different countries and I had to learn different languages. And also, I know what we have to do like that. So it's even easier when because I had to learn by myself and I was doing that without knowing, because if I knew like a Matt DiMaio, like, I don't know, 30 years ago will be easier for me. So, and it's amazing. That's why even today I was sharing, a lady wants to go through UK and said, oh, it was not the same lady. Oh, I need to learn English. Okay. And it was painful. I said, well, just clean the painful thing and you watch the live, please. And you will see, because it's easier when I've been doing that, but it has a method. So thank you so much. And also thank you for the platform. And also thank you for investing your time here, because then please, if you just arrive now, you'll have like 7 days. Matt will be live on 7 days. A role is going to be live in different countries with Agora, and also in the biggest platform in Brazil, in several other radios and web TVs. So you can come to YouTube just to watch it, or you can just follow on Instagram or Facebook. We are going to share where it's going to be live, because this is an amazing. Thank you for doing everything smarter and faster and shorter.
You're very welcome. I have a site where people can go and get some free gifts. So
thank you.
I want to thank all of you who have taken the time to watch and to listen and to be fans of Anna and to listen to me, go on and on about all of this stuff. Obviously, you can see I get very excited about it. But if you go to my site, besmarterfaster.com, www.besmarterfaster.com. If you go there, you'll see that I've got a number of ebooks and reports where they're either very, very low cost, a couple of dollars, $2, $3, or they're completely free. And so if you go there, you can learn all sorts of stuff. One of my favorite resources there is I've got a great ebook on how to eliminate procrastination. If you want to be able to find out how to get more done and eliminate procrastination and the feeling of overwhelm. Look, we live in a world of endless information. We're overwhelmed by it. If you'd like to get rid of that feeling and be able to get more stuff done in less time, come check it out. Also, if you are a student right now, and if you're studying, if you're taking classes online, I've got a great book that I'd like to recommend to you. This is a very short book. It's really, really thin. See how thin that book is? It's only 51 pages. It's called Straight A Strategies for Successful Online Learning. There's a lot of stuff out there for teachers about how to teach online. There's almost nothing out there for students on how to become a better student online. It's learning online is a completely different mind space than sitting in a live classroom. And so I go through, how do you keep yourself motivated? How do you set up your space? How do you deal with the feelings of isolation? What do you do if you've got a teacher that's just a lousy teacher? And what I do is I cover really practical stuff that almost nobody else ever addresses. And so we live in a world right now where a lot of online classes are taking place, and almost nobody shows you strategies to become a better online student. So you can check it out. And literally, I think you can get it for like $1 on an Amazon Kindle. You know, I think it's 99 cents or $1.99, something like that on Amazon Kindle. Anyway, Anna, I want to thank you, and I do have one closing wish, folks. Everything I teach does take a little bit of work and effort, but I promise you, it is absolutely worth it. Please always remember that the fastest way to get to the top is to get off your bottom. Thanks for joining me.
What can I say after this? So you are my world record guest. I'm so blessed. Thank you so much. So please join us on YouTube channel. Remember, Matt DiMaio. Grazie mille. Thank you so much. Muito obrigada. Quero-vos agradecer profundamente o facto de terem estado aqui conosco. É absolutamente inacreditável esta técnica que o Matt DiMaio trouxe aqui, explicou exatamente como é que nós podíamos fazer. Muito obrigada. Já sabem, podem passar esta informação a todos os que sentirem. Ele deixou aqui 3 técnicas e deu aqui vários presentes, e gratidão à Verónica Sabane por nos ter colocado em contacto nesta networking global e mundial. Ele ainda explicou mais uma ferramenta relacionada com a inteligência artificial em que nós estamos juntos. Portanto, muito obrigada. Thank you so much, Adnan. Thank you. Adnan is always here. You say hi. It's a fan. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. I thank you for waiting for me to speak Portuguese, just to say thank you to our audience in Portugal and Brazil and other countries around the world. It's like 200 million people. I believe we're going to reach there. Thank you so much, man. It's an honor. So this Agora is going to be always open for you, and it's a privilege to have you. Thank you so much. So please continue to remember, Matt DiMaio faster. So you have all the contacts here. Thank you so much, Adnan. Thank you. Please share this information. Thank you. Oh, it's amazing. Thank you so much. See you very, very, very soon. Thank you. Thank you, Matt.